Good morning, everybody. Today we have Laura, Healthy Carnivore, Laurel Russell Brands with a Z.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. And it's hashtag Laura for a chance to win a Kiltz Mighty Tribe t-shirt. And Dr. Nelson will be here. Dr. Kiltz is flying today. So while we're waiting for Dr. Nelson, Laura, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your Healthy Carnivore story?
Sure. So I'm a registered nurse, and I have been a nurse now for over 22 years. And in 1991, I weighed 313 pounds, following the standard American diet with the standard American
Wow.
doctors. And I was not a nurse back then, but I just went and read up. I went to the library this is before internet, of course, and actually read all the old medical journals, veterinarian books, stuff like that, which were very similar. And I just was like, I am throwing away everything white. So I basically did keto for about 26 years clean, like just stuff we're hunters. So we hunt deer, we fish, we do that. So that's what I did. And then I transitioned over to carnivore in 2019 after seeing a Joe Rogan and Dr. Baker episode. And I thought, hey, why not? So that's kind of where I went. And then a year and a half ago, I started my own website because I make tallow products. I've been making those for a long time and decided to do that. And then I work with clients on my website as well, plus still work full time doing home health.
Wow. Wow. So how tall are you? How tall
I
are
am five
you?
fives.
Oh, wow.
I,
313 pounds. Wow.
yes. Yeah, I was a
And
bowling ball or Rubik's Cube.
Do you have any before and after pictures I had?
There's a video. I don't have one on me because nobody likes keeping fat pictures. But when I was doing Meaty Monday with G and Robin, we did a video compilation, and my mother had one picture of me still, I was just huge. And so it's in that video compilation back when we did that show. I don't remember what episode that was. Um, but I do like to have any hard copies sitting around. No.
wow. So you lost most of that
Yeah.
doing keto. Most of that
Yeah,
then
I
was from
lost
keto.
yeah. Yeah, I lost 153 pounds doing keto. Had another child in that keto baby, and maybe put on about 7, 8 pounds total, over, just life. And then 2017, that's when the keto treats started coming out,
Oh,
like
yes.
Quest
Yep.
bar.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I started implementing those into my lifestyle and destroyed my guts. And just, yeah,
Mhm.
that's when the crap hit the fan. And I had put on some body mass, but it wasn't really muscle, even though I was working out and doing kickboxing and stuff like that. So ultimately, I knew menopause was on its way very shortly. So I thought, I'm going to clean out everything and let's just do it as natural as possible. So that's what I did. And I actually gained almost 10 pounds the first few months I was on carnivore, and about had a heart attack because I'm frugal and I didn't want to have to buy new scrubs. But I just stuck with it. And, I lost an additional 15 pounds.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, so you lost a lot of weight. What made you feel physically better, the keto or the carnivore, or what differences did you notice?
So the keto, I felt better as in, when you eat like a whole bag of Doritos and cottage cheese and half a pan of brownies, you feel good for a little while, but then you're sluggish, when the sugar and insulin do their little thing. Um, so doing keto was good because it cleaned out all the processed junk and I felt better, but I still had anxiety. I still had some depression. I'm OCD, which I think nurses should be a little OCD anyway. So I'm keeping some of that. And but when I went carnivore, all of my allergies went away. My asthma improved. My OCD is not quite to the level that it was. And anxiety and depression, I was able to get off medications in about 3 months' time.
Amazing.
And I don't really, I have all the energy you could ever want. I don't have the brain fog anymore. My husband says I'm nicer if he feeds me steak. I don't know.
My husband's happy
throw it
that I'm
and
not.
run.
Yeah, exactly. My husband's happy I'm not force feeding him vegetables anymore.
Yeah,
Not
that's
really
good.
force feeding, but he's like, "Why are you making this? I'm not going to eat it."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And it's so much easier. Carnivore is so much easier. I can remember doing videos of carnivore cooking, and I mean, I got pretty good at it to where I could make a cheesecake. I could make, I mean, any of the things that you wanted. It looked exactly like, what we were used to, but it was keto. But I mean, you're talking hours in the kitchen. I don't want to do that. So now
Right.
it's like I don't have to really think about, hey, what side's going to be with this or that. Now my husband is what I would call paleo with the occasional Oreo, which is kind of how he's always been. He just kind of follows the seasons, and that's the way he's been. So we have a garden out back, so I still do get out there to weed it just to help him out, but I'm not eating anything out of it. That's all for him.
Nice. Nice.
I don't really like to make the lookalike stuff, even if it's carnivore, even if it's good ingredients, all that. I've never been missing anything that just looks like something else. It's a lot of work, and some people use that as a way to slide down that dangerous road. But there's a bunch of
Correct.
stuff that is probably okay to do. I just prefer to have either ground beef or the steak, or go straight to the heart of the matter, and that's it. And obviously, basically it's a different kind of ultra processed food because, have you top and read the ingredients on any Atkins products nowadays? And the Atkins products have nothing to do with Dr. Atkins, of course. This came
Nothing.
after he was dead and buried.
Yeah.
All these over-the-counter ones, lots of vegetable seed oils, bad ingredients. They're just as terrible as anything else that you find that's ultra processed.
Correct.
But if someone is using that as a transition because they can't go straight, hey.
Yeah.
I was not able to transition. I would eat that stuff and it would be just as like addictive as like the regular junk food. So that's why carnivore is like amazing. I would go for the treats. I would eat my keto is iceberg lettuce, chicken breast, and keto treats. Like you're not gonna do anything good for yourself doing that.
If you have any questions, post them in the chat. I haven't seen anything. If you put a QQQ, it's easier to identify. Any questions for veteran Laura? You said 6 years you've been carnivores? 5?
It's over 6 years. Yeah, about 6.5 now. Yeah.
I guess my question is like, what are your go-to foods? What do you eat?
I eat lots of ribeye fat. So the way I eat is very, very high fat to like moderate protein. So I do pretty much 80-20, but it's 80% fat, 20% protein. But mostly I eat OMAD once a day, and it may be hamburger one day, it might be catfish. Like I went fishing last Friday, caught catfish, filleted them up, and that's what I had for supper with a side of ribeye fat. Steak, of course, I usually eat steak once a week. I have deer that we hunt, so I'll do that, and lamb. So I just really do ruminant. And then my daughter has chickens, she has turkeys, quail, and ducks. So I will occasionally do some of those, an egg or two in with some of those things. So it just depends. But the last 2 days, I've just been doing kind of a fat fast. I think Kelly Hogan kind of talks about, and just to see how does my body react to just having, ribeye fat. And so far, pretty good. As soon as we're off here, I'm going to go do my sprinting. So
Fun.
You mentioned lamb. Do you keep lamb? You buy lamb? What?
I buy it. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I don't think I could raise something and bottle feed it and pet it. And then I don't think I could do it.
Oh, because we for sure ate a chicken that was our pet for 6 months.
Oh, gosh.
My grandmother, you go visiting, and she killed the chicken just half an hour
Yep.
before cooking it, maybe a little bit
Yeah, mine
longer
did
because
too.
it drained a little bit. But
Mhm.
I literally would see the chicken, and a few hours later we'll be eating it.
Oh wow. I don't know if I could do a lamb or a goat though. Like if we were thinking about getting some goats, I don't think I would then be able to eat it after raising it and having it, but I understand.
Yeah.
Julie Jackson says your products are incredible, very affordable. I have your soaps. She has your soap, shampoo, conditioner, face cream, and she consults with you and has helped with
Wow.
my SIBO. Awesome. Cool, Julie. We do have some questions. Let's see. There was one from Julian. Is 3 pounds of meat a day too much meat? And I'm saying no, it's not. But what do you say?
I think it depends on each individual. Like there are times that I will eat 2 pounds of meat a day. I don't know. The only time I've ate 3 pounds of meat was with Russ in Louisville, Kentucky at Keto Palooza last year. And we went to the Brazilian house, and I had fasted for 3 days prior to going on purpose because I'm like, I'm going to eat one meal a day and it's going to be at the Brazilian steakhouse. And I'm sure I ate over 3 pounds that day, but the majority of the time but I'm only 5'5", and 100 and I think I weigh 156 pounds. And so I don't really require that amount, even when I'm doing, I do some form of exercise every single day, except sometimes Sunday. So sometimes that's lifting weights, could be, sprinting. I do rebounding. I do push-ups, things like that. And then I do functional stretching every day. So maybe I just don't require that amount. But I know somebody like Dr. Baker, I think he talks about that amount all the time. So I think it just depends each individual person as to what they need.
Well,
Exactly.
I believe Rick eats 4 or 5 pounds a day.
Oh, is it?
Rick
Wow.
charged a road car.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Here's
Right.
the next question. GFG Homestead. She's also in Illinois, Northern Illinois. Being in the medical field, have you convinced any other doctors or nurses to be carnivore?
Yes, I have. I actually have a cardiac doctor that I used to work with who is carnivore. The better thing, not that that's not good, is that I have gotten several doctors in my area because I do home health nursing. So I'm very autonomous in the home and then reach out to, work with the doctors for the people that are at home, whether recovering from surgery, accident, just, need some additional help staying home, is working with these doctors and getting these people changing their diets, a lot of times to ketovore, some to carnivore, but also implementing the mineralized salts for these people who have been told for 30 years from these same physicians to not have any salt, and they have all these conduction issues in their body, their hearts, AFib, congestive heart failure. And we've worked with several doctors to be like, give us 2 weeks. Let's try this with these people. Let's see if we can transition them off of, the fake salt. That new salt stuff is just horrible. It's just chemical composition powdered and thrown in a salt shaker. So that
Wow.
part's been really good. Yes, they're pretty open to it in the area that I live in. I don't know if I lived in a bigger place, if that would be the same, but here they do pretty well.
Okay, next question. Terry, someone who seemed intelligent last week told me that those Beyond Burgers, fake meat, are exactly the same as beef, except no animal is killed. Thoughts?
I don't know how many animals were not killed to grow most of that stuff, but since most of it is chemicals from the lab, maybe that's one thing. Number two, that protein may look, and even they can make it taste like almost the real thing. I haven't tasted it, but
Yeah.
it is not animal protein. That's what we need.
Yeah, it's not as bioavailable.
And then they have to put in all the fake vitamins and minerals because.
Yeah. And I live in the Midwest where, I'm surrounded by cornfield, soybean, wheat, all these things. And so I have seen the carnage when you see the
Aw.
tractors go through the field. Yeah. And you'll see them disking up the ground. And then I would see all these white birds look like little miniature seagulls following these tractors. And I can remember, 20 years ago, I'm like, what are they doing? I thought they were out there picking up the seeds as they were planting. And my husband's like, no, as they're disking the ground, anything that's in that ground, whether it be snakes, voles, mice, rabbits, baby deer that'll hide, that gets chopped up. And these birds are actually meat eating birds. And I was like, that is horrific.
Maybe that is the
It was
source of the
horrible.
protein in the fake meat.
Maybe that's it.
Probably.
It could be.
Oh, disgusting. Oh, no, that's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I need to know what exact time this is, set 5:17, and I'm going to cut it and send it to my mother.
Yeah.
Because she's she's eating eggs and fish now, but stop eating the plants. Sorry. She was vegan for a long time because of ideas like this, if that makes sense. Because of those ideas. I don't want to hurt the animals. Well, this is the truth. All right, Laura, this is from Barb. I really enjoy all of your content. I noticed Julie commented that you helped her with SIBO. What do you recommend for that?
So I work with people kind of individually to see kind of like if we can get down to what caused. A lot of the SIBO that I work with is overuse of antibiotics. I mean, I have had people I had one lady who was on antibiotics a full year, not because they knew she had a bacteria. They just couldn't figure out why she was sick. And they just kept throwing different antibiotics at her time after time. She ended up with C. diff and SIBO. And so usually I don't go straight carnivore with them to begin with. I get them doing fermented vegetables, fermenting their own stuff, kefir, if they can do dairy, you can do water kefir. I've made it too. I get that. I do some pre and probiotics with that. And then I transition them over to carnivore. I have them make their own gelatin. So basically, if you get like the old gelatin boxes that are, I think, orange and white, I have them make a jello just with water and some electrolytes and like put that in a pan and make them a little thicker. So they're like jello jigglers. You can pick them up and hold them and cut those and kind of help just coat the lining as they're getting transitioned over because their acid too is just usually thrown off. Most of the people on SIBO that have SIBO are also on omeprazole or protonics, something that is blocking their acid production. And
Yeah, I
they're
was
just
gonna
sick.
mention. I didn't want to interrupt. But I was gonna mention the PPIs, also the proton pump inhibitors, omeprazole, and the class. It's a big cost when you're chronically on them. You decrease the acid production, and just the chain of events ends up with bacteria being in the wrong place. How also high fat is something that helps because it's antimicrobial. And
I also have them make sure that they look at all the products they're taking in. Even like some of the not, I don't want to say the names, but some of the packets of electrolytes that have, the artificial sweeteners, because even like xylitol, like I use xylitol in my tooth powder to be in the mouth because it kills the Streptococcus mutans bacteria, which is the number one bacteria in the mouth causing, leading to cavities. But I don't have people swallow that because bacteria goes to those sugar alcohols thinking it is an energy source, and then they die off because they cannot utilize that. And so I think that's something that I had damaged my stomach with doing, like those Quest bars and stuff like that in 2017 and 18, because I was overindulging in those things, because that's what you do when you're addicted to something sweet, whether they say it's keto or not, and had destroyed all the good bacteria in my stomach and back, so then you had bad overgrowth.
Oh, we lost Dr. Nelson. I'm sure he'll be back. Okay. Brian Fisher, fly fisherman dish. Do you eat raw meat, cooked and raw?
I do both. It just, even the meat that I would have that you would call cooked, most people would say it's not cooked. It may just be seared in a pan. But there's many times, especially with deer, that I will just have it to where it's maybe set out and it's room temperature. And I've done that for, I don't know, probably a year or two, where it just depends kind of what I'm hungry for. If I feel like, and if I have time, there's a lot of times I'm trying to get ready and I take my food to work and I just set it out like it's in a glass dish on my counter, with a lid on it, at work. And then when it's time to eat, I just eat it at room temperature, no matter if it's been cooked or if it hasn't been cooked. I don't eat raw eggs. I do not like raw eggs. I tried it. Being a nurse, I won't allude to what it reminds you of, but I cannot do it. So that I don't do.
That's good to know. I have a question. Do you help in your coaching or nursing women with lipedema? And what do you recommend in terms of dieting? Or not dieting, in terms of eating with lipedema, not lymphedema, lipedema.
Yeah. Yep. I work with a lady right now that has the lipedema. With hers, we have went super high fat. And then she has implemented, it's really high fat. And then implementing like a 2-day fast every single week. And I always fast with her. Whenever she's fasting, I'm like, let's get in contact. I work with, I have like Marco Polo, and I work with people directly, they have a prescription or subscription on my channel for that 24-hour, lion basically. And I work with people that way. So yeah, I have a lady that I'm like, let's go, let's fasting. You pick the 2 days and let's do it. So that extended fasting and the higher fat, and really, most of the time it's like, let's go to lion diet. Let's make sure we're not getting in any of this junk, because when you eat pork, turkey, chicken, any of the other meats, that stuff's not being broke down by them like it is a ruminant animal. So if you like, I know what my daughter is feeding her chicken and turkey and stuff like that, so I can do the eggs. I still don't eat turkey or chicken, like the meat on the bone. It just doesn't seem to really do much for me. And I just found that the red meats, I don't know if it's the extra vitamin B that's in there, but my lab work last time I had it done, my vitamin B was over 2,000. And she was like, weren't you anemic 6 years ago? And I was like, yes, ma'am.
Wow,
she's like, well,
that's
you're
amazing.
not anemic now. Yeah.
Wow.
She said,
it's the red meat.
Yeah. She said, quit supplementing. I said, I haven't supplemented in 6 years. I've, didn't need to. Yeah.
Wow. Because, I've been on carnivore for like 2.5 years now, and I was I consider quite overweight. I was at my heaviest, I was 225. I'm 5'4", so we're about the same height. And then it just stopped. And recently, Dr. Nelson brought to my attention that possibly I have lipedema. And then I started researching that. And other carnivores like, you need to go low fat for lipedema.
It's
And
not
I'm
what
like,
I've
I
done the
feel
opposite.
terrible. I feel physically
Mhm.
terrible. I tried that. I tried like in 2 days, I was like crying again. I'm like, wait, oh, I remember this
Yeah.
weird like depression-y stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. So, but I eat a lot. I eat high fat, but I eat a lot of pork. I love specifically
Yeah.
bacon or pork belly. I eat that, but where I
Yeah.
think because I live in South America, so I think it might be a little bit
Right.
cleaner because it tastes different in the
It
States for
probably is.
sure.
Yeah, it
but
probably
I
is.
feel physically better. I don't have the pain in the legs when I eat high fat, but I'm just done trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
was
and
just
sometimes
curious.
it'll just kind of come when it wants to. Because like I said, when I transitioned to carnivore and it was regular, I was eating pork belly and
Hmm.
stuff like that. But what I noticed was I started getting histamine responses to like egg
Mm,
whites. I
okay.
haven't been able to do milk products my whole life. My dad was a Cherokee Indian, so in the Indians, lactose intolerance is pretty prevalent. So that
Okay.
wasn't. I was like, that's probably not fixable. I think that's a genetic thing that I do carry that I'm not going to be able to. I can once in a while get by with like Tillamook cheese, like one piece,
Yeah.
but it's got those queso morphines, and the next thing I'm like, but would two be better? And you talk yourself, and so I'm just like, eh.
Oh, that's an easy conversation.
Yes, yeah, so that's what I did. But yeah, the gal that I'm working with right now, she tried the lower fat version and actually hers got worse. Her
Oh, wow.
lipedema was worse. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And do you know she had fatty liver on top of that? Do you know, have you ever,
I have no
yeah,
idea, but I've been doing this for like 2.5 years now. So this way of
right.
eating, not perfect, but um, I do have compression shorts. Yes, I wear compression shorts, so that helps also. I just have to do it before I eat. If I eat food with the shorts on, I'm like, oh, I can't eat.
Yeah. Now, do you do a rebounder or anything like that just to make sure that, the fluids
Um,
are all, I know it's not lymphedema, but still.
No, I'm worried about my knees. I used to have a rebounder, and before carnivore, I would just throw my back out on the rebounder. So I should try it again. I've been very nervous because I put myself out for days. I have a big
Ah,
hill and I walk up and down it 3 times. It's like it sucks. It's like this. So I try to do that 3 times
yeah.
a day, the hill.
So have you ever heard of what they call dead bugs exercise?
No, no.
Okay, so I would look up how to do dead bugs.
Yeah.
And I would
Dead
do
bugs.
that for, yeah, I would do dead bugs. I would do that for a few weeks before you start rebounding because that's going to strengthen your abdominal muscles. It's going to work on your core and your low back, which will
Okay.
help keep you from having that happen.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
want
because
you throwing your low
that's
back out.
oh, it's usually my
Miserable.
shoulder. It's usually like upper
Oh,
somehow. That
yeah.
where
Wow.
you turn into like Batman in the suit and you can't move. So that's but
Yeah.
okay, so Brandon, the prize for today is a Kiltz Mighty Tribe t-shirt. Please hashtag Laura to win your Kiltz Mighty Tribe t-shirt. And thanks for answering my questions and give me some advice. Now we'll get back to the other questions. Sandra Hardine, did you say functional starches?
Stretches.
Oh,
Functional stretching.
Oh, okay.
There is no, I don't believe there is a functional starch.
That's it.
Not in my body.
I was wondering.
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
functional stretching. I don't know if you've been on uh, Facebook and you see these reels of these people that look like they look like they got Danlos syndrome, but they don't. It's
Yeah.
just that they can do this really. You're like, wow, they can touch their knees with their head. And I was like, well, I don't think I can. I've always stretched after. I never stretched before I run or kickbox. I don't know why. I just do it after. And so I was like, I'm limber. I can do that. No, I was not. Now I can do a lot of those things. So I just do a little bit of stretching different body parts on different days. Like if I do my sprinting and my rebounding, then I do lower body functional stretching for another 20 minutes, after I'm done. If it's weightlifting day, push ups, things like that, then I do the upper body functional stretching. But it's kind of a good way to also do like almost like meditation at the same time. So, and if you do it out on the grass, you're killing 3 birds because then
Right.
you're grounding at the same time.
Nice. Functional stretching people, not functional starching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And you said you don't stretch before exercise. So
I
the
don't.
stretching you're doing is to increase your flexibility, not to
Mhm.
prevent injury. There are some studies that show
Right.
that actually stretching before exercise does absolutely nothing. Now, most
Yeah.
trainers, most people in the
Yeah.
exercise world, they tell you, "Oh, stretch before," but there are some
Yeah.
studies that show there's no difference. So maybe one of those things that is very individual. But a lot of people don't stretch before just going ahead and doing whatever the routine is going to be.
Yeah.
Let's see. We get this one. I have a feeling there are a lot more carnivore nurses than carnivore doctors. Explanation, if you agree with me. Any explanation, if you agree with me?
I would say I don't know how much education and nutrition that like you got, Dr. Nelson, but a lot of the docs I worked with said, enough to know how to do like TPN, maybe have a little bit of knowledge for something like that. But nursing, at least when I went through nursing, we did have a lot of nutritional, even though it was bad, it was not
Well,
what
that's
I
what I
would
was
call
going to
correct.
say. It really
Yeah.
doesn't matter because
Yeah.
by far we're getting the wrong nutritional advice. Everything is plant-based. I was just
Yep.
watching a commercial yesterday or today. I've seen it a couple of times. One of these beet supplements, and the person starts with, "Oh, it's got to be plant-based." Okay,
Yeah.
so even people who've gotten a bachelor's degree in nutritional science
Yep.
of some sort before doing medical school or doing nursing or
Yeah.
whatever, it's coming from far from our message. I'm trying to be nice.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes. Yeah. It's there. I call it disinformation. I'm always like, well, that's disinformation. You can't get this, and I'm big on studies. So doing this for so long, I'm always pulling up studies. But as my husband says, he says statistics don't lie, but liars can use statistics. So you can always find a study out there that's going to kind of go with what
oh yeah.
you know. y-
There is a
Yeah.
famous quote that they attribute to what was this famous American writer? Uh, it's a pseudonym, anyways. Clemens is the real name. Forget, but
Oh,
he says
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain. Yes, and
Yeah.
they attribute the quote to him. I don't know if it's true, but he said there is lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Because
is true.
you can twist a statistic that's truthful. It's a reality. You can prove that statistic is correct, and the statistic is showing you the wrong thing. One of the
Yeah.
examples I always talk about with that is the studies that got Lipitor approved, atorvastatin, show
Yep.
a relative risk reduction for cardiovascular disease of 36%. It is true, it's a
Mhm.
relative risk reduction. The thing is, the absolute risk reduction that's based on is only 1.1%. That's the
Yeah.
true risk reduction. So they're not saying, they're not lying, they're just quoting a statistic that means absolutely nothing when you
Right. They're just not giving it the whole thing. They like it's just like the 7 country study. When you look at they gave you the information of those 7 countries, but not the 20 some that they started with. And working in cath lab and open heart for several years, um, that was what was so disheartening as a nurse is you were seeing people come in who had never, I mean, I had a 51-year-old vegan who had been raised vegetarian, went to medical school, became vegan in school, and had eaten that way the rest of her life up until 51. And she came in having widowmaker and the right coronary artery. And when we did her heart cath, saw that she had multi-vessel disease, that we were going to have to do open heart. And I can just remember her the next day. She was like, I've taken a statin. I've never eaten this. I've never eaten that. And I said, it's calcium. There's a little cholesterol in there, but there's a lot of calcium and a lot of the minerals that go into bones wind up in your vessels. And I'm like, when we do open heart, sometimes when we would start the grafting process, and you have to, put 2 openings into the vessel where you're going to go around the blockage. There were times where that blockage would just, the lesion would come out and land on the table. And you're just like, I mean, it sounded like a piece of school board chalk hitting a steel table, and you're just like, and that was very eye-opening. I had a surgeon I was working with, and I said, what was that? I thought he dropped his scalpel. And he was like, "Oh, that's a piece of plaque." And I'm like, "Wait a minute. We've been telling people that plaque is like butter and, you know, these animal fats." And I'm like, "But we've got
It's
somebody here that
calcified.
hasn't." Yeah. And that's like, but we actually sent her lesion to pathology to have them run everything, and it was like 60% calcium, so much magnesium, boron. I mean, all of these bone making materials. And then there was some lipids, because anytime you have an injury to any vessel, anything in your body, the cholesterol kind of comes along to do its job and bring the immune cells in. And so I was like, I'm not. And I just looked at him. I said, I'm not telling people to not eat animal fat. And from that day forward, that's when I would educate, you're going home, you need to do this. And I'm like, you throw away the seed oils. Canola is not your friend, and you just, and I mean, at first they were like, well, and I'm like, I can't tell these people I will not lie for anything. So
And the thing you mentioned, vegans and cardiovascular disease. Some
yeah.
studies don't show any difference in
Hmm.
vegans and cardiovascular disease. Some other
Yeah.
studies show a decreased incidence of coronary artery disease, but they're being compared to the control group is a group on the standard American diet. There has never been a
Exactly.
comparison to carnivores.
Yeah.
Hopefully, at some point, we'll have more studies. The only significant study probably regarding that is the lean mass hyper responders
Right.
studies that are coming out, but it's always compared to the standard American diet. That's the control group, the regular diet.
Right.
So, and all the other studies do not show a difference in decreasing mortality
That's right.
and morbidity. So
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take another question. This one's from Sissy. I'm feeling, oh, we already took that one. All right. Karen Gaber. It says GR8. Great, maybe great. What about HCl should also be used for better digestion?
Like betaine hydrochloride is something that some people will use. Sometimes they use some oxbile salts, some bitters. There's different things that people have used. Um, and we don't know, like, there are different tests they can do to kind of see, like, if you've shut down, you have pepsin, you have hydrochloride pumps, stuff like that, as to see what each person's, what you have shut down, whether it's been antibiotics that have led to a lot of that, whether it's been that you've been taking, the acid reducing medicine, which I have found with the patients that I've worked with to get them off of acid reducing medications, almost inherently, they already had low acid to begin with. That's actually why they were having, the acid come up into their throat, is most of them are diabetic, and they were having like little episodes of like gastroparesis where they're not breaking down the food, it's sitting in the stomach, and then that gets dense and sits at the bottom of the stomach, and whatever fluid and acid you have in your stomach is going to end up on top of that. And then they would lay down, and then they'd have this acid reflux. And I'm like, and I worked with a gastrointestinal doctor over 20 years ago. um, Dr. Carapresso was his name, very good doctor. And I had H. pylori, and I had a ulcer. And so they had me on antibiotics, 2 different proton pump inhibitors, and just was getting worse, getting sicker and sicker. And he was the one, he actually came from University of Iowa and was coming down to our town to help out the little hospital there. And he was the one that told me about apple cider vinegar with the mother. He said, I think you don't have enough acid. I don't think it's too much acid that's causing your issue. And he said, I think you should do this. And I thought he was nuts at first. And then I started doing that in a glass of water every morning. And then I just did straight shots of it. And now I don't have to use it at all. But I did that for a long time.
Okay, next question. Let's see. Suse, some people say disease starts in the mouth, others say in the gut. What is your take on this?
Whatever you're eating that's causing it has to go through the mouth first.
And if you just look at it, the mouth is just the opening to the gut. I mean, it's all connected.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Kareem Gaber, what about coffee? What about coffee?
Yeah, I think as long I don't drink coffee anymore. I gave that up a few weeks ago. I was not a coffee connoisseur anyway, so I enjoy drinking coffee with my husband. Mostly because you get to watch his brain wake up, because he's one of those that's literally like until he has like 2 cups of coffee, and then you could start to see, oh, okay, now the wheels are rolling. So it would be mostly for that, but it was always organic. Like we use Melaleuca coffee, but I think some people can tolerate that. It is a plant. Some people can tolerate that and it doesn't bother them. I would say if you're having issues cleaning everything out and going to really carnivore, and I have my people do lion for like 4 weeks, and then take a food group or a group of something that they want to try, and do one thing at a time added back in to see how it affects your body. And then you'll kind of know, because sometimes people do get kind of a sour stomach and acid issues with coffee. So I think it depends.
Okay. Ilky, what happens when you eat cheese? I get a little breakout rash on my face from cheese or heavy cream from the or heavy cream or coffee cream.
Yeah, I don't get the eczema or the psoriasis type stuff. Mine was always histamine. So my sinuses would get very swollen. Same thing with pork. My knuckles will get to where they're just tight. They feel kind of achy. And I mean, that's the reason that I went lion, is because I loved pork belly. I could eat my weight in pork belly, but I would pay for 2 days after that. And
Oh no.
I just couldn't open my hands. And when you're a nurse and you're drawing blood and starting IVs and doing things like that, taking out stitches, staples, you kind of need to have your dexterity be as best as it can be. I'm 54, so I'm trying to prevent, looking and feeling like my age.
will you agree then that you do definitely better with ruminant meat?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'm not somebody I can do. I was telling them earlier, my daughter raises her own chickens, ducks, turkeys, and quail. And so I do have the availability of doing those eggs. So I just did a turkey egg the other day, and I could do that, but she raises hers old style. It's scraps left over from their meals is what they get. They're out open. They don't get anything added to their diet. But if I buy an egg from the store and I eat the whole egg with the egg white, it's just like my sinuses will fill up and I just get a little bit itchy on the soft palate of the roof of my mouth, are the signs I get.
This is just a note that Graham, Carnivore Transformer, is in the hospital, and please pray for him.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yep.
For everybody.
Yep.
Stephanie Boyd. I saw a video recently from keto nutritionists who had videos on why 4 carnivore influencers quit carnivore. These videos always make me question what I'm doing. Any input on this?
You have to know what your why is for anything that you do. You have to be at peace at what you're doing and know what your goals are. Because there are people out there, and some people can do keto and that does just fine for them. Some people do better when they get on carnivore. We're all different. And it's N=1 experiment. I don't know. I guess I've got the kind of personality that I don't necessarily listen to I call it the noise, whether it's pushing to do something against my body autonomy, whether it's doing any of that. I just, I've seen those influencers, like Saladino would be another one, okay, that's good if that's what works for him. But that doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody else. Doesn't mean carnivore is going to cure everything for everybody. I think everybody just kind of has to try it out. I think an elimination diet, that's the other thing, is a lot of people I work with, they just can't handle going from either standard or vegetarian or vegan and saying the word carnivore. So then I'm like, well, let's do an elimination diet and get you down to this, and then we'll do baby steps of getting you back up. So
And
that's
you
what
can,
we do.
you might be able to tolerate some carbohydrates. Dr. Berry, for example, talks about a spectrum, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And at one end is pure carnivore lion diet. At the other end, it's a lot higher amount of carbohydrates, but it's never extreme either. And
right.
You mentioned Dr. Saladino. He was, he wrote a book on carnivore, then when adding, and now he is finding studies of a 2-week duration with 10 people showing some bad things. And the evidence he's bringing up that has always been available, because some of those studies are old. He's, whatever works for him, that's fine.
Yeah.
He does have a level of activity and metabolic health that can tolerate that amount of carbohydrate, but he's eating 300-400 grams of carbohydrates a day. If I did that, even if I try to increase my exercise, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Because I can't tolerate them anymore.
Yeah, I can't either.
I mean, I have heard Sean Baker say, like, he doesn't expect the whole world to be on carnivore forever either. I know that I feel better this way. You guys feel better this way. Like, do I not enjoy a pickle once in a while? Well, Dr. Nelson will tell you I do.
After you corrected your metabolic health, you might be able to tolerate a higher amount, but I bet it's never going to be, 300, 400 grams of carbohydrates a day.
Yeah, that's so much. That's a lot.
Yeah, never. Me neither, Rick. I think I've only had, I don't know if I've had a dozen donuts in my entire life anyway. I just never, I grew up next to a Dixie cream donuts, and the smell of that horrible grease cooking, I don't know what kind of grease they were using, but that smell just, and I was like, no, that's not for me. I was a brownie girl. I like brownies.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say, straight donuts, maybe not so much, but apple fritters were mine.
Apple fritters. Dr. Nelson and I are very similar. Dr. Nelson, can you show the bread really quick? How many months are we on the bread?
We're
that crazy?
6 months. I still don't see any mold, and there were only like 2 burger buns used from this on our cookout on New Year's Day, because most of the family just doesn't eat bread anymore. But this was hot dog buns. No one opened it. They're all 8 are there, and still no mold. 6 months on, not refrigerated, not a piece.
Wow.
I don't see any mold still, and I've looked around.
That's a longer experiment than I did. But when I was working with my doctor back in 1991, and of course he tried to put me on statins at the time, and I said, I said I have Wonder white bread, the old Wonder bread, and I said we set it on the kitchen window seal. And I even opened it, left it open in the direct sunlight. And I don't remember how long. I think it was close to 6 months. And not only did it never mold, but if you took the end off that had dried out, still it felt like marshmallow soft in the
Inside.
center. I was just like,
Ew.
I'm not
Ew.
eating that. Yeah. Yeah. So I was just like, this is crazy. I'm not eating this stuff.
By the way, Viagra, sildenafil, might give you a longer life expectancy than statins. And statins data is not great anyways, but
Oh gosh.
the reason it increases nitric oxide.
Yep.
But you want to increase your nitric oxide, just breathe through your nose and do a few minutes of box breathing, and that increases your nitric oxide a lot.
Yeah. Very true.
Okay, so we have another question, Christine. How does someone accumulate calcium in blood vessels? I want to know.
Well, first, most plaques are calcified, so they do have a lot of calcium. And we talk about soft plaques, and those are the least stable ones. But, this is the basis, for example, of doing a coronary artery calcium score test, a CAC score, because usually they're calcified. They're considered also more stable, but they all have calcium. I don't remember the date. We are going to have Malcolm Kendrick, I think it's next month. And I think it's at the 6 a.m. Also live stream.
Yeah, he's coming, I think, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay.
It's in July. It's like July 8th.
So, and he's the author of The Clot Thickens, among others. And that's an explanation that he can give very well. I've read the book. Excellent. There is calcium.
All right, next question. And she would like to know what test she can get in Canada to know about calcium in the
CAC.
They
do them. Yeah, CAC score. If you want to look at the soft plaque, you can do a contrasted like angiogram. They can do that as well to check for the soft plaque. Because I did both. I did a CAC score after being keto for about 27, 28, almost 28 years. And it was like 368 at the time. Most of that was in the Widowmaker, so the LAD. In fact, I think almost all of it was there. And then 2.5 years after being carnivore, my doctor was like, your cholesterol is high. And I'm like, yeah, but my triglycerides are 33. And, and she was like, you got to have I said, I did that, and she was like, do it again. And it was the same company. It was actually the same lady who did these scans. And I was 0 at that point. So
you reversed that completely from a score of about 300 down to 0.
It's 0, 100% in all of the coronary arteries. They actually called me from the center that did it And they were like, we have your birthday wrong. I mean, and I was like, no, you don't. I work here. My information's correct. Then they sent it to radiology in Springfield, Springfield, Illinois. And he called me and he was like, I don't think your birthday's correct. Listen, I need this information so that he could tabulate his stuff. And I'm like, April 7th, 71. That is my birthday. I'm like, am I dying? Do I have like something? I was like, what is happening? Nobody's telling me anything. And that's when he said, he says, you don't even have lumps and bumps. He said, they're clean as a whistle. He says, you can't find a 10-year-old walking down the street that doesn't have some lumps and bumps from, this bad diet. And I said, well, this is what I eat. And then he was like,
Dr. Kiltz is here.
really?
Hi,
Hey,
Dr. Kiltz.
I apologize. I apologize for being late. I know you guys talking. Because I was in late from the screening of Animal here in Hollywood, and I've got to get to the airport. But I want to at least get on for a moment and say hello and thank you all for being here and our Healthy Carnivore. Thank you for being here, and I love all you guys.
Aww.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I
Thank
didn't
you.
get my car to the airport. I love you guys, and we'll talk later. Thank you.
How
Talk
was
to you
the
later.
how was the animal screening?
It was amazing, great showing.
Yay.
It's just I saw parts of it that I didn't see the last time for reasons I don't know, but it was pretty big. So we've got to share it around the world, and let's really sort of pick that up and get that out there and get everyone here get a tag to the movie and share it, and let's grow this. So awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Dr.
See ya.
Kiltz.
All
right.
Have a
Bye.
good day.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I was figuring he probably went to bed late, even for him, because
Yeah.
he was probably up until, I don't know, probably midnight.
Oh, that's late for him.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question, Dr. Nelson. My aortic aneurysm is 4.8, or Laura, is there a way to reduce the size or keep it from increasing?
First of all, this would be a great question for Dr. Ovadia,
Yeah.
who's a cardiac surgeon. But the main thing you do to avoid increasing is keep that blood pressure under control. That's the number one thing. I don't know if there is anything without intervention, any way to reduce the size significantly, at least. If your blood pressure remains always normal, you won't have that pressure pushing and increasing the size of the aneurysm. You worked in cardiac lab at some point, you said.
Yep.
Do you have any comments?
I didn't see. I mean, we had lots of AAAs. We had a lot of different things that we saw in there. None of those people were eating this way. I do have a gentleman I work with who does have a AAA, and his was a 7. And I think the last time he had a scan, he was a 6. And his doctor told him, well, this is what he said to him, as your body's healing, so do your blood vessels, so does your lung tissue, so does your heart. He says, like the ultima, all of these parts of your vessel, it's tissue. And he says, because he says, do you think my diet's helping me heal? And he was like, well, it's definitely not doing anything to damage it, and it's controlling your blood pressure. He also had kidney disease. So he kind of had everything that could cause high blood pressure. He had the downstream effect of the kidneys not filtering, causing, a backup, causing the high blood pressure, stuff like that. So he's done better. But to see it in the cath lab setting, I didn't have anybody that was eating this way come through there. Most of the time, most people, if they don't keep their blood pressure under control, they end up having to go in and have grafts, and they have to have interventions done to prevent that from rupturing.
Usually ends up being an intervention, like you said, if there's any. And I'm
Yep.
surprised someone at 7 or 8, you said?
7.
Yeah, I'm surprised they had not already had surgery.
It's because it was, no offense, but it was a guy, and he said, we don't like to go to the doctor. We don't like to have interventions. I think it had been offered. He just wasn't going to have any part of it. And at first, when I worked with him, I'm like, if that's, if you have any of these symptoms, if you have, I was like, if you get extremely nauseous, you've got this abdominal pain, it goes through to your back. I was just like, you can't play with that, because that's minutes if that, full blown opens up on you.
Yeah, when it goes very quickly.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So I wouldn't, if it was that size, I wouldn't necessarily rely on a change of diet, which obviously it will be a positive thing, but might take too long for it to be having a positive effect. Anyways, it's 7 a.m.
Hey, I know. We're gonna stick around for 10 more minutes if y'all don't mind. Someone was supposed to be here an hour ago, but I saw that they think they're supposed to be here now. So we're just gonna wait around for 10 more minutes if that's okay, for a special surprise. But we can answer a few more of these questions.
Sure.
And I'm gonna say hashtag Laura to get a chance to win the Kiltz Mighty Tribe t-shirt, a Kiltz Mighty Tribe t-shirt.
Yeah, we have more questions though, so go ahead.
We do have tons of questions. Let's see. Jay Bud, lack of animal fat that caused plaque buildup? Question mark.
I don't know if the lack of animal fat is the cause of plaque buildup, but definitely the vegetable seed oils you mentioned, the excessive carbohydrate consumption, the inflammation from high levels of glucose and insulin, clotting factors, all these things.
Sure.
And the clotting factors are worse on someone with diabetes or hypertension, causes basically a dynamic injury to the walls. That's why most plaques are formed where there are higher velocities in the blood with new arteries or bends or anyway. So all these things,
bifurcations,
all these things definitely contribute. But I don't think the animal fat is the cause of the plaques.
No.
Here you go. Larry Ryan, have you had people who have stents start eating carnivore? I had some friends who had them and their diet is going to cause them. I have some friends who have them and their diet is going to cause them more trouble. I guess it's a question mark. A question.
Yeah, I'd say if they're still eating standard American diet, which is what led them to have these issues, that they had to have stents, open up, smash the lesion basically down, stretch the artery out to allow blood flow to go back through.
And then put a foreign body there.
Yep.
Which is going to eventually cause more plaques. They do get clogged after a certain time.
They do. I've actually had people that we had come in having an MI, stented, 3 stents in a gentleman, and within weeks he was back. And you can put 2 stents in the same lesion. After the second stent, you have to do bypass. There's no more stenting that same area. And we had a gentleman, and he ate fast food constantly. I mean, he worked he owned a Flying J gas station down in Missouri, and he ate all the junk. And he just kept doing that and ended up with open heart. By the time, I think he was only 50 when he had open heart.
It makes sense about the maximum of 2 stents, because basically you're talking about very thin tubes, right?
Yes.
Just think of plumbing or a hose.
Yeah.
And you have a very small hose there. And now you put something to stretch it out. And then you may put a second one, but at some point the hose is going to break from you
Yes,
doing that, so you cannot keep doing it.
that is true.
Okay, so oh, we did that one. Okay, what do you do if people can't afford Lion Diet?
Everybody can afford Lion Diet. If you go to the grocery store and buy food, you can eat Lion Diet. I have people who are on fixed income who eat Lion Diet. You buy your cheapest hamburgers that you can. And you you can buy butter pretty cheap. And most of the time, and it's different in all areas. Like I do purchase my ribeye fat. I buy pounds of it by itself, very cheap, $1.99, I think, a pound.
Amazing.
Some places give it away. Some places won't sell it to you at all. But I mean, right now, the last 2 days, that's all I've eaten has been the ribeye fat and 2 free eggs from my daughter. And because since she's my daughter, I shouldn't have to pay for my eggs, right? I feel like that's fair. And so you can do it. The other thing is, you don't have to have 3 meals a day. You can get by with 1 or 2 meals a day pretty easy. I find that my way of eating is cheaper than what it was because I would buy broccoli and cauliflower and spinach and kale and all that. And by the end of the week, when I was doing keto, you couldn't eat all of that. And so you're throwing it away. And I thought, I don't like to waste money.
So let's do some numbers, Laura. So she's asking about
Yeah.
Lion Diet. So that's very
Mhm.
specific,
Yeah.
right? Ruminant meat,
Yeah.
salt, water.
Yep. Mhm.
So how much do you spend? I think we have sort of made comments about this. We've established most people will eat somewhere between 1 and 2 pounds of meat.
Yeah,
Right?
I think so.
That sounds
Yeah.
fair? All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So you can find at Walmart, I'm talking, a store probably everybody has one near,
Yeah.
right? Ground beef, or definitely less than $4 a pound. Some places,
Yep.
depending on the mix, might be more, but 380 something, 375, 350 a pound. So 2 pounds of that would be less than $10,
Yep.
even including whatever you spend on the water and salt, which is
Yep.
minimal.
Yeah.
Tell me, on a standard American diet, how you're going to spend nowadays less than $7 for a meal or a day. Just count the whole
Yeah.
day, what you spend.
Yeah.
I bought picanha yesterday for $7.84 a pound. That was
Right.
even the regular price. It wasn't on sale. I
Mhm.
found it at no, it was Sam's Club. So
Mhm.
it was a pack of 2 picanhas. So I bought 2 of those packs. That's 4 picanhas. Put them in the freezer. And what I do is I slice them into steaks. I dry brine them and basically put them to dry age naturally in the refrigerator. It usually doesn't last more than 5 days by the time we
Yeah.
go through the steaks. But that's $7.84 a pound. So even if you had 2 pounds, which I cannot eat 2 pounds in a day
Yeah.
of them,
Yeah.
but let's say you eat 1.5, that's about $10 for the whole day. You're not eating anything else. You're not buying vegetables. You're not buying, if you're on a Lion diet, which was a question, you're not eating even
Yep.
cheese or anything else, even
Yep.
carnivore. There is no way you would survive a day eating a standard American diet nowadays at regular prices in the supermarket, buying a box of that and box of this, because you'll be eating. I doubt you wouldn't be eating 3 times a day. Because you're going to be hungry as well, which is what happens with most people. And the snacks,
Yeah.
and if you stop at the gas station and you grab a soda or grab a donut or
Yeah.
so
It adds up.
when you really put pencil to paper and calculate your day, Lion Diet is going to be cheaper than anything else you eat.
And I'm very frugal. I don't like to spend money. So if I can do the lion diet, anybody can, because I do it as dirt cheap as possible. And I'm fortunate. I also deer hunt, I fish, I do that kind of stuff. So yeah.
And one, I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I'm trying to track down our special guest. So give me a couple minutes here and we might just end the live stream. But I want to say, CB says, grab a bag of potato chips or a box of cereal and weigh them and compare them to weight and price of ground beef and consider how many times you eat or starve with cereal to ground beef. It's way cheaper. This is
you're probably paying for those products $20, $30, $40 a pound.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just eat them.
Peasant food.
Exactly.
By the way, I want to answer a question. I know it's like last to deliver it, but Dr. Nelson, are they called picanha at Sam's Club? Yes, that's exactly what the label said, picanha.
Yeah.
It does have other names, sirloin cap, because it's actually on top of the primal sirloin. The first thing on the top is picanha. The last thing on the bottom, by the way, is tri-tip.
Gotcha.
But it's part of the sirloin. So it is called the sirloin cap, the rump cap, culotte steaks. It has other names. Nowadays, picanha is getting popularized. It is a Brazilian word. And so any Brazilian restaurant, of course, will have picanha.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's see. How about this one? Meet the Styles. Good morning. Do you have any recommended home progesterone tests?
That's for you, Laura.
Yeah. I don't know of a home progesterone test. I think there's labs that you can go out, like own your own labs and get some of that stuff. I don't know of anything per se.
There might be a couple of labs up there that send you, to put a drop of blood. There might be even some saliva tests.
Yeah.
I find those things, yes, they can be convenient, but I would trust blood draw more for any test.
Yes.
No. Well. All right. Well, I'll try to reschedule our special guest for tomorrow. There was a time zone issue, so there we go. Good morning, Jonathan. We're about to end, but good morning. Hello. Should we take any more questions? One more question. Let's see.
I'm here. Look.
I'll answer this one. I do not believe Animal will be released on YouTube. It's going to be on select streaming services and in select theaters June 20th. That's what I know. On the Animal documentary, Brian. Okay.
Right.
After it's made its rounds, it might make its way to streaming services. But I think I don't know if it's going to be available on their website as well for download at some point.
I don't know. We will find out more. By the way, hashtag Laura. Oh, Jonathan also has a carnivore documentary being released soon. It's the first one, and it'll be on his YouTube channel. Check it out. Carnivore Muscle. Let's see. Hashtag Laura, please. Hashtag Laura to win your Kiltz Money Tribe shirt. You can also win, Laura, if you do hashtag Laura. You're welcome to enter and get a shirt.
Heck yeah. That'd be good. Something free. I love free.
Yeah, do hashtag Laura. You guys spell your name correctly though.
Yeah, that would be a bad day, huh?
Yeah. I've spelled my name incorrectly before, where I've switched the I and the L, and I'm like, something looks off here.
It can happen.
Here we go. We're doing the giveaway. All right, everybody, who's winning a T-shirt today?
You didn't.
Oh, I didn't pop it up. It's like
There you
it's
go.
in the background. Oh,
Brenda,
wait. Okay,
Brenda
you
was the
click it.
winner.
Click it. Brenda, email me, please. Alia@drkiltz.com. Yes, email me, and I will get you your T-shirt. There you go. Congratulations.
And
Woo!
Laura, we
Thanks.
do see on the screen if anybody's looking at Healthy Carnivore and then russellbrands.com.
Yeah.
Any other places anyone can look for you?
Let's see. I am on Facebook, but I usually am in trouble in Facebook, so they can look there. But yeah, pretty much I'm on Instagram, and it's healthy_carnivore. So yeah, but they can go to my YouTube channel, and I have everything listed in my description as to where they can find me. I also have like my email and stuff like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Okie dokie. Well, it's been awesome, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for staying an extra 15 minutes. And we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Adrienne Gledhill, and she's going to talk all about GLP-1s and her experience with that. So bring your questions, because I know we all have a zillion, 1 zillion questions. All right. I'm going to say hasta luego, everybody.
See ya.
Bye-bye.